Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Relix, and today we had the first game of the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs between the Kings and the Avalanche. As you guys know, I'm a Kings fan, so I'm watching to make sure that my Kings somehow pull off a win against the Avalanche, the number one team in the league who won the President's Trophy, and the Kings coming in as the last place team in the entire league going into the playoffs. It's a no-brainer that everyone, like literally anyone you talk to, has the Avalanche sweeping the Kings in 4 games, maybe even 5, but obviously you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. I mentioned that in my bracket video, so if you guys haven't seen the bracket video, go and check that out. But if you guys did, you guys know that, yes, I also believe that the Kings will lose to the Avalanche, as much as it hurts for me to say. But at the end of the day, you get in, you have a chance. However, now it also depends on how you play. And as you guys can see on the screen, Kings lost the game, the first game, 2-1, Avalanche. Honestly, the statistics here, you guys can see the shots on the goal on the very top under the names of the teams. 30 Avalanche and Kings 25 does not tell really the story of the game. If I really had to put it into a perspective, the Avalanche controlled majority of the game, if not like 70% of the game, in my opinion. I thought both teams came out of the first period a little sloppy, a little rusty for the Avalanche, I would say. But overall, both teams were not in peak performance form. And then, of course, going into as the game went along, they definitely got better. And the Kings, they struggled. I think it's typical Kings hockey that once we get under pressure, either A, we score the first goal, we go defensive shell, or B, we get scored on first and we panic. I think the chemistry amongst our teammates, or our team, is just not there. Once we get under pressure, the passing starts to crumble. There's no longer stick-to-stick passes as much as there should be. We're trying to stretch it a little bit more, and then, of course, defensive opportunities are just in the Avalanche favor, who are the basically number one team in the league defensively. So it's going to be a tough series, I don't deny that. But I think today the Avalanche definitely showed that they were a little rusty coming in, but they definitely found their legs first, and I think that paid dividends for them. Both goalies were phenomenal, obviously, in a 2-1 game, right? But I do think both goalies were not to blame for anything. Kings got their only goal towards the end on a power play, 6-on-4, and with the empty net. So it's not like the Kings did a really good job. Honestly, they were probably just going to be shut out 2-0. Lucky power play goal, to be honest. But yeah, I'm actually surprised a little bit that the Avalanche were only able to muster up 2 goals. But it is what it is in the end. So Kings did a decent job limiting the Avalanche chances. I definitely think this is probably going to be the only low-scoring game of the series. Now that both teams have played their first games, I do expect the tempo to be kicked up a notch going forward for the rest of the series. Especially for the Avalanche case, I think they definitely want to find themselves scoring a lot more goals than just 2. But we'll see. Let's go down to the statistics. You guys can see here on the right side here, shots on goal per period. First period, second period, the Avalanche led the shots, 9-13, and then Kings 5-11. But then the third period switched by 1 shot, 9-8 Kings to lead. But unfortunately, again, like I mentioned earlier, the Avalanche controlled the majority of the game, in my opinion, watching the whole thing through. I do think the Avs had just that much of an edge over the Kings in every aspect. Possession, control, passing, shooting, even high danger chances. I think the Avalanche definitely had more opportunities as well. So overall, I think the Avs did way better. Face-off percentage, you guys can move right here as well. I think face-off percentage doesn't tell a story either. Key face-offs led to the Avalanche goals. When you lose face-offs, it leads to possession for the opposing team, and I think the Kings lost key face-offs, or if they won the face-off, the Avalanche were able to step up onto the Kings defenders right away in the defensive zone for the Kings, and that causes turnovers, that causes giveaways. I think the Avalanche did a good job with takeaways, 6-4 here. obviously his takeaways, give or take, whatever counts as a takeaway, right, statistically. But you guys can see here as well, 14 giveaways per team. The block shots are pretty even as well, but I do think the key faceoffs played a part in why the Avalanche were able to score their goals. And if you were watching either the Kings broadcast, you were watching TNT, like I did during the intermissions, everyone says the same thing. Key faceoffs played a part in this matchup, and I think losing out on those faceoffs, it hurts. It really does hurt. Now, that's just for this game. Going forward, I do think, just in general, like I said earlier, the Avalanche will, pick up the tempo as far as offense is concerned. I felt like they weren't at their peak performance going into this game, but as it went along, it was definitely in their favor. Penalties, honestly, I didn't really care about the penalties going left or right. It really didn't matter. I think both teams got opportunities. As you guys can see, we scored on our one power play there at the end, going 25%. The Avs did not score on their power play. Both teams are at the bottom of the league as far as power play percentage. I believe the Avalanche were second to last and the Kings were 27th or 28th. So it's not surprising that the special teams are going to just be out of the game, right? I don't expect the teams to be good on the power play either or, but it's the PK that's more of a concern. And I think the Kings did a decent job on the PK. I did think the Avalanche's second to last power play percentage definitely showed. I didn't think they were very organized, but overall, the Kings did a very good job as far as the PK is concerned. But overall, every other aspect of the defensive zone, I felt like as the game went along, turnovers started to be more prevalent in the defensive zone, and I think that's also what hurts the Kings a lot, because then you get into a situation where you're trying to make bad lane changes, and all of a sudden the puck's coming back in your direction. That led to the second goal against. For an example, I know Edmondson was already out there for well over a minute defensively, but with the bad bounce off the glass that led to the goal against, it was his man that he needed to defend against. Regardless how tired you are, you need to be able to stay on the ice in front of the offensive player that you need to watch. And I get CC was there too. Most people will probably say, oh, it's CC, he can't defend. I personally blame Edmondson on that play. Yes, it was a bad bounce, but regardless of how tired you are, you still need to make the changes at the right time. And unfortunately, Edmondson did not make the right change for that second goal against. Overall, I think both teams can learn a lot from this first game. I do think that going forward, I think we will maybe see a defensive change. Dumoulin did get shot in the knee. Let's take a look. Is there a box score here? We could see the time on ice for the defenseman. Dumoulin had a 14 time on ice, as you guys can see here. The lowest on the team, alongside CC being next. But that is a clear-cut difference. That's a 2-minute difference compared to his D partner. And that is probably because of that blocked shot. His shifts were either shorter or he didn't take as many. And so possibly, I'm not saying it's 100% confirmed, obviously, but possibly Movaari could step in the next game just because of that shot block that he took. He was down on the ice. The play was stopped as well, but we will see going forward. As far as overall performance, I felt like, as far as peak performance, I think Panarin had a decent game, not just because he got the goal, but I think he had a decent game as well. I also think that the fourth liners actually did okay as far as their overall performance. I'm not going to say they were the greatest, right? But I think they did their jobs perfectly enough to the point where they didn't get scored on, and then they can, they did, but they can try their best, put on some offense, wear down the opposing team as much as they can. But yeah, as far as best player, I would argue maybe, just maybe, obviously Forsberg's best player, right? There's no doubt that Forsberg was best player, right? There's no denying that. But I think overall, Kempe and Panarin were kind of up there. As far as overall Kings, no one really stood out to me amongst the skaters except for Forsberg being the best in net. But I think they all did kind of the same job, and that's not going to fly by the Avalanche. So we need to do better. We need to do a lot better in every aspect of the game. Overall, I think the Kings just didn't have it, and let's just be honest, they really don't have the skill level that it takes to beat the Avalanche on a night-to-night basis. You guys can also see here as well. You guys can see the dates as well, which we're going to play the games. So we're going to play 2-day differences, right? The next game will be on Tuesday, as today's game was on Sunday, and then Thursday, and then skip a couple days and play on the next Sunday after that. So there will be a little bit of a break between games 3 and 4, but overall, I don't think that's even going to play a part. Kings need to come out in this next game in Colorado with more upbeat tempo, as I mentioned earlier, in order to try and take a lead. You need to try and take a lead. I felt like the Kings had the opportunity to go up 2-0 earlier in this game before the third period, but unfortunately, either they missed the net on opportunities, they didn't connect on a couple plays, or something around those lines that just bad luck, right? Just straight up bad luck, bad bounces. But overall, I still think the bottom players need to step up a little bit more if we want to win this game. As I keep mentioning many times, the Avalanche have so much skill up and down the lineup. In order to beat them, everyone on the Kings team needs to step up their game, including the top players, but just in general, everybody. So overall, the right team won. Right, the right team won this game, regardless of the coaches challenging, the goalie interference and all that, the frustrations, the scrums, everything combined. The Avalanche deserved to win this game, especially for the third period. I felt like the Kings just didn't have it to come back, but it was a close game. Obviously, it's typical Kings hockey, 1-goal games, but typical Kings hockey, we ended up on the losing end. Of course, majority of the season we did. So. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, that's going to do it for my little bit of a summary. This is just going to be my raw reactions. Right after the game, I'm going to immediately come to my setup and just give you guys my thoughts of how the game was played, what happened, and just everything in general. I'm going to do it pretty much the same way every single time. I think that's just a good way to round it out. Again, I'm not doing this for money or anything. I'm just doing it for my own entertainment and your guys's as well. In case you guys missed the game, you guys want to hear it from a Kings fan perspective, a honest, non-biased Kings fan perspective of how I felt the game went. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it like Daryl Evans does, like, oh, Kings did good on this and this and that, and they didn't do bad. No, I'm going to tell you guys as truthful and brutally honest as I can be that the Kings didn't deserve to win this one. Yes, it was a close game, but it really wasn't as close as it seemed. I think the Kings need to do a lot better, and I think the Avalanche were just a little bit sloppy today, but I don't think that's going to be the case going forward through the rest of the games. If you guys look back at the Edmonton series from the past few years, you guys can actually see similar differences, or similarities, I should say, similarities between this first game and those first games. Kings will still have a chance against those Oilers because it's the first game. You got to feel out the other team. But once you do, all of a sudden, the opposing team will get the edge. And in this case, the Kings will lose the series if they don't do better. So that's just my opinion, though. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Did you guys see the same things I was seeing? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? TNT and FanDuel Sports Network also kept mentioning patience. Well, Kings can't wait for the end of the game, right? We can't be that patient. So patience needs to go out the window. We need to score first, okay? Kings need to go out somehow and find that first goal. If not, create those chances and be able to take the lead as soon as possible. I feel like if we just hang back forever, there's just no way we're ever going to win a game. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys feel like in the comment section down below. But otherwise, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for the second game. Again, I'll try to keep these a little bit shorter. First video, I guess I wanted to get the laydown of how I want to do these videos, but yeah, next time I'll try to keep these a lot shorter, but that's going to do it for this one. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day. Go Kings, go. I'll see you guys after game 2. Bye-bye.